Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 319. I was white here, and I kicked off with e4. Now my opponent played e5, and after some of the normal moves, knight f3 attacking the pawn, knight c6 defending it, I choose to play the Italian game with bishop c4. The main alternative there is bishop b5, the Ruy Lopez. Also, other moves are possible there, of course. And now there's two main defenses here, knight f6, the two knights defense, but bishop c5 is the top choice. And then c3, preparing to set up a big center with d4. And so black counterattacks immediately, attacking the pawn on e4, which is not defended. And now white can slow down and build up his center more slowly by playing first d3 and then planning for a later expansion in the center, a more positional way to play. Or he can play d4 immediately, and this is more of a tactical line. So black can grab that pawn, and white takes back, kicking the bishop, and then the bishop goes over here to b4, delivering a check. And now if you block with bishop to d2, that's the most common way to play. And it's not a pawn sack if you play that way. The way I play knight c3, leading to the Moeller attack, this is actually a pawn sack. It gives up the pawn on e4. But white gets decent compensation here, so white goes ahead and castles. And there are lots of ways for black to go wrong here, so taking with the knight is a mistake, and white gets a good game after queen to b3. So bishop takes knight is the correct move. And then white can take back immediately, or he can push on with d5. And this is the Moeller attack, when you push on with d5 like this. And now the best move for black is to retreat the bishop. Again, there's lots of ways to go wrong, but well, one try here is knight e5. If knight e5 is played, then white plays queen e2, and if the knight takes the bishop, then you can take this knight with check, and then after black defends against the check, you have a choice of taking either the knight or the bishop. So you come out pretty well in that line. So bishop f6 is the best play for black, and rook e1 is a normal move. So not grabbing the knight right away, but putting pressure on this knight. Well, threatening to take it with check. So there are a couple moves here to deal with this. There's two pieces under attack, and black is going to lose one of them, which would even up the piece count. You know, white is down a piece at this point, so he's got to get a piece back. So he can do that just by castling, or he can play knight to e7, blocking the check, and both moves give up the knight on e5. He played instead the move d6, and this move is just a mistake, and I didn't stop to think. Actually, so I guess this is the point right here where both of us are out of the opening book, and we should really slow down and stop to think about what's going on, try and recognize all the threats that are in the position and how to best take advantage of them or deal with them. And neither of us really did this. My opponent played this move d6, which is a mistake, so obviously he wasn't thinking too hard at this point. And then I play rook takes e4 immediately, which is also a mistake. So make sure we haven't lost the game. Okay. The reason it's a mistake is because after rook takes e4 check, he can block the check with his other knight, which is under attack. Whereas if I take the knight, this is a new variation, I didn't play this, but if I just take the knight here, he has no good way to save this other knight. He could try, cancel that, he could try d5, but yeah, I can just take that, and his knight is still pinned. So this is just winning for white here. And instead, I played too quickly and played the routine move, rook takes. So this was really a moment where I should have paused to consider what was going on, and you know, it's that moment right after you're no longer 100% sure you know what the next move is. You're no longer in your opening book. That's when you should really stop and not just think, but also try and reassess the whole position and make sure you understand everything that's going on. Okay, but my opponent played knight e7, and if you look at the opening book, we've actually transposed back into the normal line. So if he'd played knight e7 first, I would have taken this knight, and then d6 is one of the moves there. So we've transposed back into a line. And now I played bishop g5, It turns out g4 is also a move here. At some depths, the engine prefers it. At other depths, it thinks bishop g5 is better. But g4 is an interesting try. You know, g4, h6, and h4. Just trying to storm the king side here and take advantage of the awkward position of black's bishop might be a more interesting way to play. In a sense, it's not, when you're playing one of these gambits, it's not so much about playing the absolutely most correct move. Oh, here we hit one of those depths where it thinks g4 is better. But if you let it go a little bit longer, it'll change its mind and think bishop to g5 is a better move. So it switches back and forth. Anyway, bishop g5 also has a logic, which is when you're attacking, you want to get rid of your opponent's defending pieces, and you want to develop your pieces that are not yet participating in the attack. So I can take a piece that's not in the attack and force a trade against one of the defensive pieces here. I can maybe establish superiority, a numerical superiority here. So black took the bishop. I took back with the knight, and then he just castled here. And it looks like this is okay for black, so my attack is not overwhelming. There is an interesting drawing line here with knight takes h7. Yeah, it doesn't show this as a draw just yet. So I played queen h5. It just seems like a logical move to bring the queen out. The engine is saying queen d2 could have been played here. Just lifting the queen up and maybe bringing a rook into the games is another way to play this. But just to show you, this knight takes h7 idea is pretty interesting and typical. So the king takes, and then you come over here with the rook, check. The king has to run back, and then you come over here with the queen. And it looks like f6 is a straight up draw, f5, and f6. Well, it changed its mind there. Well, let's take a look at f5. Currently, the engine is showing f5 is the best move. You play queen h7 check. King runs to this square, and then you have rook h6. Yeah, so that's, you see how the engine, when it looks ahead deep enough, you know, it keeps changing its mind, but there are certain depths there where it thinks that's a draw. It's an interesting line because this rook can't be taken, and the knight here is doing a good job of defending the pawn. So I'm not sure black can really white. I'm not sure white can really improve on this situation. It says, let's see, black should defend here with rook g8, and then bring in the other rook with rook e1. Well, it's interesting, but white is down a whole piece, so it's hard to say if this is going to work out well or not. Anyway, I didn't play knight takes h7 in the game. I just played the more typical queen h5. And now we really are out of the opening book, so let's go back to the notation tab. After queen h5, he played bishop f5. Good defense, getting a piece here which not only attacks one of my pieces but defends this key square on h7. I bring my rook over to h4, trying to put more pressure here. Let's see, is there an improvement here? Maybe just rook back to e3. So way to play. Okay. Yeah, it's because of this line I started thinking that maybe g4 would have been a more interesting way to play. Somehow this position has gotten simplified to the point where my opponent is not having too much trouble finding good moves, and I'm having trouble finding ways to continue the attack. A rook on e3, by the way, might support the idea of bishop coming to d3 and trying to reestablish some control over this diagonal. That might be an interesting way to play. Okay. But I played this, and he played bishop g6, kicking my queen. I dropped back to f3, and now he brings his knight in. So I think he's put up a pretty good defense, but he didn't find the best move here. So this rook h7 is probably not a tactic that works, but my attack had pretty much run out of steam at this point. My rook is hanging, so I don't have time to play bishop to d3 here, which is what I would like to play. Yeah, I could just drop my rook back to h3 here. It's saying I could play rook h5. It's a way of giving up the exchange, or rook to g4. Okay, well, rook takes h7 actually is one of the choices in the top three there. Anyway, it was an interesting line. He took back with the bishop. I didn't realize till later I was leaving my knight hanging. He should just play queen takes knight here, and he'll have a good game. But this is what I was expecting him to play. Bishop takes, and then I take here. He takes, and then I get this piece. So I've sacked the exchange, but I got a pawn back. So now the pawns are even. I'm just down the exchange, and but I have active placement for my pieces. I thought maybe I could still get something going, and there is a moment in the game coming up where I still had a chance. So bishop to d3, setting up an attack on this diagonal, which he blocks with g6, and then I drop back to f4 here, trying maybe to swing over to this file. Also, I need to bring my rook in at some point, but I had to move my queen first. Plays queen e7. Now we go rook c1, thinking maybe the rook can come up to one of these squares and then swing across. He plays rook f e8, so he's playing really good defensive moves. This is also threatening checkmate on the back rank, so I have to give myself some lift. I play Luft, rather, a little space for the king. h3 to give the hidey hole for the king, and then rook a to c8. Defending this pawn, I guess, so his queen is free to move. Went rook to c4. He brought his queen over to e5, and now I really can't afford to trade queens. In spite of what the engine is saying, I need to try and hold on to my material so I have some attacking chances. He went king g7, and rook f4, going after the f pawn. He played rook e7, defending it. And now h4, trying to open up more lines over here. He went rook c d8, doubling, and he's definitely got control of the e file there, but he doesn't have any good entry squares. All these squares are covered by my pawn or my bishop, so I can't break in anywhere except down here at e1. Okay, so I push on with g4. So I ended up playing this g4 h4 idea anyway, and he brought his rook over to attack my h-pawn. Push on with g5, which also defends the h-pawn, and I was thinking maybe taking advantage of the f6 square in some way. He plays queen e1 check now. My king comes up, and he goes over here to c1, hitting the b pawn. And right here is my chance. If we back up for a second, during the game I thought that rook e4 was possible here, where I played g5. But rook e4 doesn't work. I looked at this in the previously. He can just take the pawn, and that establishes a pin on my rook, so I can't move my rook. So that saves him. I don't have time to play the moves I was wanting to play, g5, and I want to play g5 and queen f6, and I can't get them both in here, and I can't take his rook because my queen hangs. So the rook to e4 doesn't work in this case. But after g5, queen e1 check, king g2, queen c1. Now rook e4 is a move here. I was thinking also maybe rook d4, but let's take a look at rook e4 and see how this works out. So he takes, cancel that, I don't take back, I play queen f6 check. King goes to f8. If the queen goes to f8, I take here. Oh no, how does this work? If the king goes to f8. Okay, if the king goes to h7, then queen takes f7 as mate. Okay, got that. If the king goes to f8, then I take the rook. So king g8 is the only move. And I grab the rook. And now he's playing rook takes h4. I guess no matter what he does, I can play queen d8 check. Like, he has no checks. So, say he just moves the queen. I go here with the check. King here, back here with the check. Yeah, once again, if the king ever goes here, that's a mate. So, so I get a perpetual. So I could draw the game at this point. Sort of my last chance. I played rook g4 instead, opening up the f6 square for my queen, but he just takes the pawn over here, controlling this diagonal, and the rest of the game is downhill. That was sort of my last chance to hold and now he's just got to win. And after he exchanges off the material, I thought maybe I'd get some mileage out of this passed pawn, but he's got it covered and he's going to take it in the next move. I can't even defend it. So I resigned, and that's how the game ended. But anyway, I'm going to continue to play the Moeller attack and see if I can get a better game next time. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.